topic for our podcast is the constructive learning theory. I, Conor Lynch, will discuss the history of the theory. Luca Mara will discuss the characteristics and the key concepts, and Thomas Coughlan will discuss constructive learning applied in the classroom. We are here in the University of Limerick on the 1st of April 2014. A generation ago, developmental psychologists focused on infants, children and adolescents because it was assumed that by the time we reached our early 20s, the mind was fully developed. Several decades of research later, this has proven to be false. The adult mind does continue to develop, albeit in different ways for different people. In the past centuries, constructivist ideas were not widely valued due to the perception that children's play was seen as aimless and of little importance. John Piaget did not agree with these traditional views, however. He saw play as an important and necessary part of a student's cognitive development and provided scientific evidence for his views. Today, constructivist theories are influential through much of the non-formal learning sector. Piaget was the first psychologist to make a systematic study of cognitive development. His contributions included a theory of cognitive child development, detailed observational studies of cognition in children, and a series of simple but ingenious tests to reveal different cognitive abilities. Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development. The first stage is the sensory motor stage. It lasts from birth to approximately the age of 2. The child begins to interact with the environment. The pre-operational stage ranges from the ages of 2 to 7. The child begins to represent the world symbolically. The next stage is the concrete operational stage. The child learns rules such as conservation. This stage ranges from the ages of 7 to 12. The final stage in Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development is the formal operational stage. It begins at the age of 12. The adolescent can transcend the concrete situation and think about the future. Psychologist Lev Vygotsky proposed that children learn through interactions with their surrounding culture. This theory is known as socio-cultural perspective. Vygotsky believed that cognitive development occurs through the child's conservation and interactions with more capable members, such as adults and more able peers. Piaget represents an inability to take the perspective of another and engage in reciprocal communication. Vygotsky represents externalized thought. Its function is to communicate with the self for the purpose of self-guidance and self-direction.
So I'm going to look at some of the key characteristics and concepts associated with the constructivist learning theory. First of all, the idea is that learning is more meaningful to students when they're able to interact with a problem or concept. Fox 2001 noted that learning is an active process, and this is a key concept again associated with the theory. The use of interactive teaching strategies to help create meaningful context for students can also help them construct knowledge based on their own previous experiences. They are essentially adding to their old knowledge. Student-centred activities are also essential in the theory. For example, an open classroom discussion on a topic set by the classroom teacher is key with the theory also. Fox 2001 again noted that knowledge is created rather than passively absorbed like the conventional learning that we see today in classrooms. The teacher should also support the learner, unlike the conventional lecturer where the teacher is a facilitator or a guide. Applefield 2001 said that learners' existing knowledge provides the immediate context for any new learning, and that dialogue is essential for new learning. Understanding is also aided through social interaction, questioning, challenging, supporting students, and also providing them with feedback. Piaget's constructivism theory of learning is also based on discovery. In order to create a suitable learning climate, students should be allowed construction knowledge which is meaningful for them. Classroom must be provided with a variety of activities to challenge students to accept individual differences, increase their readiness to learn, discover new ideas, and construct their own knowledge.
I'm looking at constructivist learning in the classroom. In the classroom, the constructivist view of learning can point towards a number of different teaching practices. In the most general sense, it usually means encouraging students to use active techniques such as experiments and real-world problem solving to create more knowledge and then to reflect on and talk about what they are doing and how their understanding is changing. The teacher makes sure he or she understands the students' pre-existing conceptions and guides the activity to address them and then build on them. In the constructivist classroom, the focus tends to shift from the teacher to the students. The classroom is no longer a place where the teacher pours knowledge into passive students who wait like empty vessels to be filled. In the constructivist model, the students are urged to be actively involved in their own process of learning. In the constructivist classroom, both teachers and students think of knowledge as a dynamic, ever-changing view of the world we live in and the ability to successfully stretch and explore that view, not as inert facts to be memorised. The key assumptions of this perspective include 1. What the students currently believe, whether correct or incorrect, is important. 2. Despite having the same learning experience, each individual will base their learning on the understanding and meaning personal to them. 3. Understanding or constructing a meaning is an active and continuous process. 4. Learning is an active, not a passive process, and depends on the students taking responsibility to learn. The main activity in the constructivist classroom is problem solving. Students use inquiry methods to ask questions, investigate a topic, and use a variety of resources to find solutions and answers. As students explore the topic, they draw conclusions, and as exploration continues, they revisit those conclusions. Exploration of questions leads to more questions. As a conclusion, Vygotsky developed a theory known as socio-cultural, which stated that the social world plays a major part in helping to develop a child's knowledge and skills. The constructivist learning theory tells us knowledge should be meaningful and based on active learning. Constructivist learning in the classroom involves students taking responsibility for their own learning. That's the end of the lecture. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for listening.